It's NIL season, and honestly, you probably don't have a clue what that means. But Georgia, the state of Georgia, has signed legislation so where players can profit off of their name, image, and likeness. And there's a catch in that that's really disturbing. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jay here with Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. And on this episode, I want to dive into the Georgia legislation that was signed for the name, image, and likeness for the collegiate players, and why the catch is a bunch of BS. In the name of capitalism, we have NIL, guys. Congratulations. Legislation is being passed in multiple states so college football players can pretend like they're going to make money off of their names that's actually going to go to their pockets. So, and I say that in a joking manner, let's talk about this. So Georgia has decided to pass legislation. I think it's the bigger legislation around NIL for the players. And if you know me, you know that I am one of the biggest advocates for paying the players. And I have many arguments about why. And what kills me here is the thought that people are trying their damnedest to keep these players broke. The NCAA is the number one culprit in this, and the list just goes on for people that really want to keep these kids broke. Now, of course, the good joke behind that is that boosters find a way to get money to these players anyway. And I'm still trying to figure out why we haven't just found a way to just let them do that. Just let boosters give them the money. Call it a day. It's probably the simplest solution since schools don't want to give up their money. Just do that. But anywho, Georgia passed legislation. I kind of want to talk about this because I feel like this is a big turning point in this situation, and it points exactly to what the NCAA has been trying to do. The entire efforts to find a way not to give the players money. And if you notice, I'll get to that in a second. So this is what's interesting about it. So Georgia's legislation says this, that it's House Bill 617. And the biggest thing, the law empowers colleges in the state to elect a requirement that all student athletes share up to 75% of the name, image, and likeness compensation generated and received by each athlete. The required sharing would occur pursuant to the pooling of funds for the benefit of the individuals previously enrolled as student athletes in the same school. And then the funds will be held in an escrow account controlled by each student's athletic department that will be distributed to former student athletes upon graduation or 12 months after leaving the school early on a prorate basis based upon the number of months the individual was a student athlete. And the law specifically provides a restriction that a school cannot distribute these escrow funds in any way that discriminates against the students based on race, gender, or other protected characteristics. Now, let me first break that piece down. For those that don't know, I know some people are probably wondering NIL, what that truly means. It's name, image, likeness. It's all these sweeping legislations that have become hot button topics as of late. It's the shiny new toy in Congress or in the United States, where allowing players to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. Because right now players can't. They can't take money. They can't do anything. But the schools can profit off of their name, image, and likeness all they want to. The state can profit all they want to off name, image, and likeness, and so can the NCAA, which is ridiculous. So listen to Bomani Jones' podcast. You'll hear me frequently mention him because he's considered to me one of the smartest people in the industry, if not just me, by a multitude of people. And he pointed something out that he saw from John Walters, who I think writes for The Athletic and is a professor like Arizona State or something of that nature. May have got it wrong. Can't remember. I wrote it down, but I got deleted. But anyway, he basically pointed out that Georgia schools are being a bank. They're holding somebody else's money, making money off the interest, and then distributing it. Y'all see that as a problem? Go listen to his latest episode of The Right Time with Bomani Jones, and he really breaks it down. He makes some great points, and I'm not going to jump on that because this is the one thing that bothers me, and this is this catch they put in there, is that schools can take up to 75% of the money that the students earn, so they can redistribute it to other people. Why? Why is that? Why? And Bo kind of makes this point. I didn't think of it this way, but this makes sense. It's basically taking the money that black students make, that black people make, and giving it to the sports that no one else cares about that are typically played by white students. Taking money from blacks, giving it to whites. In that case, redistributing wealth is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, everyone with the running jokes of, oh, it's socialism. They're okay with socialism on that. It's not really a socialism. Socialism is a political economic theory around all the production of goods and stuff are shared and owned by everybody. In this situation, this is not owned by the players. It's being taken away from them based upon their work. We live in a country that's supposed to be capitalistic. This is a capitalist country. It's supposed to be free market. And we're doing everything we possibly can to keep these kids broke. And the funny thing about this is everyone's argument is that, oh, if you give them money, they're not going to do nothing but waste it, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? It's their money. Remember, a lot of y'all were in y'all 18s and 20s and stuff. And guess what y'all did with y'all's money? You probably wasted it too. So who cares? They earned it. They provide a service that all of us can't do. So I'm trying to get a better understanding here with supply and demand. If the money's there, why the hell can't they have it? Why can't the schools find a way to pay these players? Why ain't they got the money when they need to pay the players, but they got the money for extra facilities? Look at what Auburn just did. They just upgraded their facilities. LSU got 160 something million that they put on their facilities. That money sure be rolling in when they want it to. Alabama had like a $600 million plan to continue to upgrade facilities. And the funny thing about it is when you talk about paying players, the first thing everybody complain is that we got to think about all the smaller schools and how unfair it is for them. But guess what? Y'all don't give a shit about them small schools right now when they're at disadvantage from Alabama getting $600 million to upgrade facilities. What about North Texas? What about Tulsa? What about UMass? They ain't got a football program no more. Idaho got rid of their football program. It's expensive. But y'all don't care about them. Well, I mean, it's just, they should do better about whatever. Yeah, exactly. How about we just pay the players and let the players get paid and let them determine the market? It's only, and it's funny with all of this stuff, and I talked about this in another video. I'll make sure to link it. The only sports, when the transfer portal piece was going in, the only sports that were not allowed to transfer were the money-making sports typically played by black athletes. Typically, I'm not saying all of them, because hockey was in there too. But it's the black athletes. It's the one, they don't want them going around. Why? They don't want them to have control over their own destinies. Now we got the transfer portal and things are going wild. And guess what? It's fun. The transfer portal is fun. It's cool seeing, this dude didn't work out here. He didn't like the way leadership was treating him or whatnot. He decided he wanted to go somewhere and take his talents. And guess what? They're taking their talents elsewhere. If you pay the players, it gives an opportunity for these smaller schools to shell out some money for one good player that can start for 4 years, and boom, there you go. Kids will go follow the money if they're going to start. It even helps them getting ready to go pro. If you're good, you're good. It's all that matters. Pro scouts are going to find you. Trey Lance just got found out of North Dakota State, so did Carson Wentz, because they're good. It didn't matter that they played at those schools. Zach Wilson just got picked up by the Jets. He played at BYU. They played no competition. And guess what? Got drafted number 2. If you're good, people recognize that you're good. And that's my point. And so when it comes to paying these players and these bills, it's ridiculous. Georgia feels the need to put this in there. Now, here's the thing about it. If you noticed, all the teams the states that are actually passing this legislation are mainly Southern. Like I looked it up, and right now you got Georgia, New Mexico. They're not Southern technically, but Alabama, Mississippi, Texas. Texas really doesn't have an NIL bill yet, but they've adjusted some things. But they're the ones that are doing it now. They're the ones immediately jumping in front of it. Why? SEC country, football country. They recognize that if they're not in the forefront of this, they're going to be put at a disadvantage by all the bigger schools that go ahead and put together big things. The Pac-12 is going to start snatching up players because players are going to be like, I mean, I'd love to go play for Nick Saban in Alabama, but USC's offering up 30 racks this season, and we could use the money. That's what you're looking at. These kids can use the money because a lot of them are coming from situations where they ain't got the bread. And a lot of them, what little stipends they may get from financial aid and stuff, they send that back home to moms to help out. That's the situations that we're talking about. And I think it's ridiculous and hypocritical that anybody feels the need to continue to keep these kids broke because it don't make any sense to me, nor will it ever make sense to me. And so, with this legislation going in, the good thing about this is, as I close this bad boy out, is schools can decline to participate in that redistribution piece. That's perfect, which means every single school will pass on it. I thought it was stupid that they even put it in there. It's just as trifling as they are down there in Georgia with that governor. This is trifling, in my personal opinion. I don't really give a shit what y'all think about that. It's trifling because putting it in there is what made it so bad. Schools are going to decline it because they definitely don't want to be at a disadvantage of Alabama if they don't have it, or Florida when they do it, Louisiana when they do it, Ohio State when they do it, Michigan. They don't want to be a disadvantage to those schools. They can't be. California is definitely going to not have any of that. They're going to let the kids go do what they want to do. There's going to be a lot of money out there, and a lot of kids are going to start flocking to the West Coast. I'm going to be keeping it gangster, keep it a buck. You're going to see a lot of flocking to the West, especially if they open up the floodgates and they do it early. Especially if federally they go ahead and pass it and get her done. But I don't think there should be a restriction at all to this whatsoever. Kids should be able to go in there and make millions of dollars they want to. Yes, Mitt Romney, they should be able to go out there and drive Ferraris on campus because there's some campuses where Ferraris are driven by students because their mommy and daddy bought it for them. It's even better that the players buy it for themselves. Why? Because they're talented, because they have the ability to do it. Let them do it. We shouldn't be redistributing their funds to other sports that don't get any money. Guess what? In some of those sports, there's people becoming social media influencers and social media stars to where they can make their own money doing their thing. Why not let them do that? Mommy and daddy is typically funding those other sports anyway. So what does it matter? I think it's ridiculous that we're at the place where states are trying to find ways to take money out of these kids' pockets instead of finding ways to put money in these kids' pockets. That way they can spend, stimulate the market, and make the magic happen. My mama soapbox on that one. All I gotta say is this: Georgia, you screwed up with that. The good thing is you can decline, and everybody that's smart will decline because unless a student is desperate, ain't no reason to go to school at a single one of them in Georgia. At a single one. Go ahead and put Georgia right back in the dumpster that they seem to be when it comes to college football. Send their butts right down. Just they keep taking L's at the wrong times anyway.